Well, hello guys, it's Chris. From caves full of crystals to a valley that looks like it was made by a giant animal's foot. Here are 10 weird and amazing natural wonders of the world. Number 10. The White Desert. Egypt has many deserts, but its most unique one might be the White Desert. This White Desert looks like something that should be in the poles of our world instead of being in the Farafra Depression in Egypt. Its colors are pure white as the name implies, but it's the amount of this white sand that draws people's attention. The locals of the town of Farafra actually visit this area so often that it's become a national park. This desert used to be an ancient seabed, but has long since dried up. When it did, it left behind a lot of chalky residue on the sand and in the rock formations that fill the place. The formations themselves are very unique as they've been carved by the fabric of time and nature. Number 9. Zhangye Danxia Landform. The Zhangye Danxia Landform is a full-on rainbow mountain range, one that is vast and deep and full of colors. Welcome to the Rainbow Mountain of China. What is important to note, however, is that it's natural and in the purest way possible. During the creation of these mountains, various stones and minerals were put together. And then, as time, weather, and erosion began to happen, the colors truly started to show as the top layers were withered away. The randomness of the color is honestly because of how the mountains were made. The people of China were so amazed by the beauty of the mountain range that they decided to make it a park. And in 2016, it was officially dubbed the Zhangye National Geopark. Furthermore, the love of the mountains even go on to the press, who have dubbed it one of the most beautiful landmarks in all of China. Number 8. MOERAKI boulders. The boulders you see here are called the MOERAKI boulders, and they can be found in New Zealand. And they are so mysterious, there are many legends about them. As you will notice, the boulders are very round in shape and sometimes very intricate details woven into them. Sometimes it even looks like a plate armor of sorts. There isn't just one or two of these boulders, but actually 50 at last count. Each of these stones has their own unique pattern, and yet they're all very similar, proving that they were all formed at the same time. According to ancient Maori legends, the rocks were actually eel nests that were eventually washed upon the shoreline after the arrival of a legendary canoe called the Ariitaru. This was the canoe that brought the ancestors of the Maori people to the South Island of New Zealand. However, science has a much simpler explanation for this. These boulders were in fact part of the ocean floor for over 60 million years, and then they slowly made their way to the surface. Because of the tides and erosion and the fact that they were rolled around for so long, they eventually ended up as the near-perfect spheres we see now. Some, however, don't buy this theory, stating that the patterns on the stones and the perfect roundness of them prove that something else caused them to be this way. Either way, it's a weird thing to see up close. Number 7. SALAR el Beyda. Sometimes a natural occurrence can lead towards an unnatural creation, and that's exactly what happened in Bolivia with the creation of SALAR el Beyda, the world's largest salt flat. Around 30,000 years ago, this place used to be a lake, but then it dried up. And not unlike many other lakes in the world that do this, it created a salt flat. A rather massive one, actually. For every year, 25,000 tons of salt are excavated from this flat. You might be wondering, how big does this flat have to be to get so much production? The total size of SALAR el Beyda is 4,000 square miles. In comparison to other salt flats, the SALAR el Beyda is 25 times bigger than the Bonneville salt flats in Utah. Also on the salt flat, there are these weird hexagonal shapes that no one can really describe in terms of origin. Likely, it was formations caused by the receding of the water, but it's unknown. But what might be weirdest of all is that this salt flat is home to thousands of flamingos. If you want to see these birds in their natural habitat, this is the place to go. Number 6. Cave of the Crystals. In Chihuahua, Mexico, there was a mine in the mountain of Naica. In 1910, miners from Penol's Mining Company discovered a cave full of crystals that were 3 feet long. Called the Cave of Swords, it was found full of water. They tried to keep the cave a secret for as long as they could, but word got out. Later on, in 2000, another cave beneath that particular cavern was discovered. In this cave were the largest selenite crystals ever found, including one that was 36 feet long and 4 feet wide. This place was called Giant Crystal Cave. The crystals themselves formed because of many different factors. The water within the cave is filled with gypsum, under the cave is an actual pool of magma, and the temperature of the cave itself is pretty hot. We're talking over 100 degrees on average with 90% humidity. Add these factors together and give them the time to grow, and you get a set of massive crystals that will make your jaw drop. Unfortunately, because of the very nature of the Cave of Crystals, which is another name for the place, scientists could only explore it in time frames less than 1 hour and only with protective equipment. It's far too dangerous to do otherwise. Number 5. WAITOMO Glowworm Caves. In New Zealand, there's a cave that glows because of worms, giving you plenty of light to see in the weirdest way possible. Welcome to the WAITOMO Glowworm Caves. What is interesting is that these glowworms are not very big. In fact, they're about the size of mosquitoes. However, that means that to achieve that kind of lighting, there are millions of them, all of which can be found along the walls of this cave system. While this may freak some people out, the cave is actually one of the most famous caves in the world because of the glowworms. You have to admit it's quite a sight. Speaking in terms of science, this is the only place on Earth where this specific species of worm is found, making the cave all the more special and unique. You have to wonder why this worm species only grows there. Due to the fact that this cave system has a river going through it, there are tours held often. Don't worry about the worms though. The people who host this tour are very careful with the instruments they use. That way no worms will be harmed while you get to enjoy the view. Number 4. CAñO CRISTALES River. In the Serranía de la Macarena province of Meta in Colombia, you'll find the CAñO CRISTALES River. This river separates itself from pretty much every other river in that at times it'll change its color to resemble a rainbow of water. This river has been dubbed by locals as the River of 5 Colors. It is referenced to as one of the most beautiful rivers in the world and is known for being technicolored in certain parts of the year. You'll see shades of blue, red, black, yellow, magenta, and even bright green, which happens nowhere else on Earth. And why does it change color? Well, it's not algae or moss. It's all thanks to the Macarenia clavigera, which are actually very picky aquatic plants. They need very specific conditions to grow and take on these bright hues that show through the water. What happens is that there is a period of time between the wet and dry seasons of the region, and during that period, the current of the water picks up speed. Due to this, the red of the plant starts to show up more in the water, and then the other minerals, stones, and the natural blue color of the water mix together for a technicolored river. It was open to visitors in 2009, and there are several ways to get there. It's in a beautiful national park called Serranía de la Macarena. Number 3. PAMUKKALE. When you look at something like PAMUKKALE, you would think that it was something made by human hands, but it honestly wasn't. There were thermal waters here once, and the deposits within the waters soon hardened and created the cotton castle that you see now. The terrace is now pure limestone and is a site that many have visited over the centuries, as well as used for various purposes. For example, one use was to use the naturally created pools as a spa. No joke. However, this practice has long since calmed down, mainly because it's been dubbed a World Heritage Site, which means it's a protected area, and though it can be seen, it can't be experienced. Number 2. Light pillars. All over the world, there's a phenomena called light pillars happening. These beams of light shoot straight up in the air in a variety of colors. And this is not to be confused with the aurora borealis. How the light pillars form is like this. Light from the sun or the moon come down and then light up certain ice crystals that happen to be in the air and atmosphere at the time. The pillars only happen though when the ice crystals are perfectly horizontal, for only in that formation can the light be projected upwards like a pillar as you see them. This is not a local occurrence like the aurora borealis, for sightings of light pillars have been recorded in Canada, Sweden, various parts of the United States like Alaska and Arizona, and even the Antarctic. Because of how random it is, people have sometimes seen the lights and thought things like UFOs might be causing them. I mean, I would if I hadn't just made this video for you. Now you know too, so nobody panic. Number 1. ASBYRGI Canyon. If you take a look at the ASBYRGI Canyon, you'll notice right off the bat the area seems to have been made as an imprint of something. Because the lands around it start out flat and then go deep for a certain amount of time and then just stop at the sudden outcropping of cliffs. It doesn't seem natural. The ASBYRGI Canyon is found in Iceland, and legend has it that a Norse god was roaming around the area, and its horse touched down on the ground with its hoof and left the indent that is there now. While not perfectly hoof-shaped, it is easy enough to see how the legend was formed. In terms of science, many speculate that glacial formations caused this indent to happen, and that's actually a pretty fair guess given how formations like the Grand Canyon and others have been caused by ice and water over many millennia. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Can you believe some of these weird formations that have been made from nature? And which one of them is your favorite? How about you let me know in the comments below? And then remember to subscribe so I can see you next time on World List.